Hey everybody, welcome back after what seems like an eternity of international week. Feels like weeks, I should say. I feel like we've not spoken about football in quite a long time. Great result for Scotland, so should get that in there first. Quite enjoyable to see Scotland doing well, and I know it's a bit crap for the English viewers, but good to see we're doing well in there. You're not kidding.
About time Scotland done something better than England. It never ever happens, so let's enjoy it.
Good fun. Good fun. As always, follow us on Twitter at BansBeersFPL. Danny's quite happily written underneath his name for me this week so that I remember and not forget the right way around.
Right. Bansbeers FPL on Twitter and on YouTube. Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe to that.
Hit that big button. Hit that big button. So we're just going to dive straight in this week because we've been away football for ages, right? We don't want to get distracted. We'll pop out a beer choice and a band choice on Twitter, but we're literally going to go straight in. We've got some big talking points this week, mainly going to be focused on how our points went for the previous week, and then we're going to jump straight in and talk about wildcard strategy because obviously that's what everybody's talking about this week. So interesting to see. So Danny, starts off. How did you get on in last week?
Yeah, so 65 points. This was after the last video I was on my wildcard, so I don't think I changed anything from the wildcard team that I was sort of on all of that week. 65 points was all right. Was reasonably happy. Just get that zoom right. The big talking point for me was going Kane captain over Haaland. That was kind of ballsy, I thought, but I fancied Kane at home to that awful Leicester team, so we were talking about that on the last video. Glad Maddison got a return because I put quite a bit of faith in him. I know you had a lot to say about picking any Leicester pit player when they've been so bad, so I was pleased to see him get a goal.
Can I make a point? Can I make a quick point on that right before we get to anything else? I'm absolutely loving the idea that you seem to be like a pioneer because every time you talk about something, immediately any other time I'm watching YouTube videos on FPL, inevitably other people start talking about it like they've got the same idea. Yeah, it's impressive, mate. I don't know how you do it, but I like it.
I don't even think it was like a hunch, really. It was just like I'd just seen a few bits of Leicester this season and he still looked to be good. Like he's a quality player. I'm gutted he never got a move to a sort of better team like Newcastle or Arsenal in the summer. He would have been a great asset to have in a better team. Well, he's still looking like quite a good asset in a terrible team. So yeah, I was glad. And he's possibly going to be my captain this week. That's creeping into my head more and more as the days go on. So, and Foden was another one I was pleased with because I wasn't, as with Foden, and any time you own him, you're not too sure if he's going to get the minutes or not. So City frustrated me a bit with Wolves going down to 10 men in the first half. I thought they were going to push forward and get a lot more goals. It was a bit tedious. So I was glad to see Foden get some points because he was up in the air for me. Bowen, disappointing. However, I'm still going to keep him, I think, because there was glimpses. I thought he looked decent and at spells, like he was linking up well with Cresswell. Cresswell coming in from the left and Bowen on the right. So I think there's still potential for him there. I'll keep him for a couple of weeks. But points wise, 65, I was reasonably pleased with that considering I went with a pretty differential odd captain pick. So no bad. And although I was happy enough with that, I was kind of gutted that you didn't play your wild card and you still managed to outscore me by 6 points. So I wasn't at 51,000.
I'm not going to make this a regular thing. Don't worry. I'm not going to be outscoring you that much this season. Yeah, I was delighted, absolutely delighted. Big returns for a few of the players. Obviously got the Haaland captaincy pick right. This is, by the way, this is without me taking a hit. Like it was just the 2 or 3 transfers that I had switched the team around. The big name in that team sheet had to be Saliba, stepping up and coming in with a goal. You know, I actually had to do a double take once when we were watching the game, me and my brother, and as soon as he mentioned who it was, I think after a roly-poly off the couch in celebration, but finally paid off. Yeah, was quite happy with that. And yeah, Saka even getting on the points. Yeah, Jesus, everybody seemed to return for me. It was great. Obviously wasn't expecting anything from Ward in goals, being the Leicester goalkeeper, but there was not much I could do about that. Just had to put him in. But yeah, really happy. Good returns. the only one that disappointed me was maybe that I didn't get more off those City defenders. I know double clean sheet's good, but would have been good to get some more returns in that game. But like we talked about, the Wolves. It was just mildly disappointing. You were hoping they would go on and absolutely smash that team. The only other player that was disappointed by, same as you, Bowen. Anderson was all right, but Bowen for me, like we both were talking about that game afterwards, and they just look short. Like you were mentioning that it might just be down to the travelling and the two tough fixtures, but for me, I'm a bit nervous. I worry that they didn't look as if they had a lot of really good ideas. I know Bowen was probably their shining light in that game, but I'd like to have seen a bit more from West Ham going forward, particularly as we've spoke about having West Ham players in and getting them into the team. It was quite important to see them, have a good result, but just wasn't there. Delighted with Arsenal looking great, like continuing up with that, triple Arsenal, which might pose me a bit, like we spoke about, a bit of a quandary going forward for the wildcard situation, but quite happy with it. Good returns, delighted. A few green arrows, good climbing in a few of my private leagues. So
the overall rank up to 1.1 million. I didn't check mine. Into 300,000. That's good.
Warm fuzzy feeling all round,
The only thing I was going to point out there was Andreas Pereira. I just thought Fulham just burned us, man, like both of us. And some people had the double up, like Mitrovic and Andreas Pereira. Like for Fulham to score 3 goals away from home and neither of them be involved was disappointing. And then Andreas got a yellow card as well for his sins. So that was the only other sort of disappointing point was Fulham performed, but those two highly owned players didn't. So, but I think they'll still come good. They've got good fixtures and they're worth having.
They're definitely going to even out. I think we talk a little bit about certain players doing well in certain games, but I think Pereira and Mitrovic are likely to consistently return, and I don't mind them having the odd game off. This one was a bit of a biter because I had to play them essentially. But it would have been nice to get some returns. But you can't ask for everything, you've just got to go with the flow and hope that they do pick up the points. But occasionally they're not going to do that, and he's been pretty consistent this season, so can't complain too much when he gets a bit of a low scorer.
Yeah, decent scores all round then.
Yeah, quite happy. So let's go into this week's quandary, which is going to be game week 9. And we're going to talk a little bit about wildcard as the magic word that everybody's going to be talking about. And we've set up a template of some of the players we think that people should be targeting. This is our, Danny's expertise really setting it up for us, but this is some of the players we think people should be looking at going forward for fixture-wise and things like that. And we're going to go through the talking points. First off, we'll just start. I think, do you want to just go through the team? We'll talk about goalkeeper, then we'll talk about defence, talk about midfield, and then striker. So we'll do it bit by bit. The first part, obviously, talk about those goalkeepers, and I wanted to mention a little bit just before we start about I've seen a few people who are still adhering to the Everson Ward tactic for Leicester. They're putting in both those keepers low pricing, obviously in the hope that the two of them continue to play, which is fine, but I can't see Leicester doing anything defensively, so it would be a real worry for me. I don't mind having Ward as your backup keeper because he's guaranteed to play, so good chance he might get you 2 points if he needs to come in, but the Ward Everson double up is just a terrible trap for me. I don't know why. I've seen some big names doing it as well, which is quite worrying. I
don't get it. Like, even though you've got all these green fixtures, like Leicester have been so bad defensively, and we've spoken about that last time, and probably more again going forward. Like, what are you saving? So if you have Everson at 3.9, so that's 0.6, you could get to Raya, you could get to who else is 4.5 that's sticking out at the moment. Guaita, like from Palace. Cracking set of fixtures, and we know Palace are decent defensively on their day, especially at home. So, I just don't get it. Like, if you're wanting to go with Ward, get somebody else, have Ward as your backup. But I like him as the backup because, like, if Pope was to get injured for some reason, there could be a clean sheet in there somewhere, or maybe at least you're going to get your 2 points, or he might get an extra save point or something. So he's a safe backup for now. But the Ward Everson thing, no, man, it's just.
if you look at those fixtures, like we were talking about there, I mean, realistically, the only game that I can see them even getting a clean sheet out of might be against Wolves. And I don't, what's that game, week 13 or something like that? I mean, that's, 13. I mean, realistically, we've talked about the fact that Forest can score goals. We know they can score goals. Bournemouth, all I'm seeing is like something that we're definitely going to talk about in a bit anyway, is the Solanke decision. People are talking about Bournemouth now becoming a team that they've got decent fixtures and they're going to score goals. Crystal Palace, they're going to score goals. Leeds are going to score goals. So where are you going to get the, the clean sheet points? You're not. So you're better. I would say, like we talked about, you're better spending that 0.5 or 0.6 and just getting a goalkeeper that will occasionally get you those 6 pointers or potentially plus. I think it makes so much more sense. So yeah, I've seen a lot of content creators around putting it out that that's a viable tactic, but I think both of us would say, approach with caution, because there's no way, if you're watching this Leicester team, they are shipping goals like nobody's business.
Yeah, you can save the money elsewhere. If it's that 0.6 they'll be somewhere in your front line or your midfield or something. You can save that. So I would definitely go against that decision. It's not cool.
Yeah. So I'm going for Pope, but like we say, you've got players like Gaeta, Raya, Sa in the same sort of points category, but Newcastle look to be fairly safe set of hands, although a bit worried about Pope's international performance, but he usually has quite a safe set of hands. So yeah, it's a good choice. I think if you're going to go for that, go for the 4.5. Pick somebody like that. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, Pope's in my wildcard team from last week, and if I was on wildcard this week, I would still go with him. Like, as much as I sort of highlighted Guaita there, I just think Newcastle just have the better defensive numbers, and what we see with Pope is like he makes quite a lot of saves in this column here. So even like a lot of the shots they seem to be conceding aren't really that threatening shots. So he's making easy saves and he's picking up points. So he's a bonus point magnet. So we can see that he's getting into double digits here sometimes when he's keeping a clean sheet. So I just think if he can stretch to the 5.2 that he costs now, then he's the one to go for. But if you're a little bit strapped for your budget, then the second choice for me would be Guaita. I was tempted to put him in there. I mean, it does free up a little bit and it's nice. So you can spread the funds around a bit. But this thing is the safer hand. We've seen him keep clean sheets already. Like I said, he's getting the bonus points from the saves. So I like him. Pope him my first choice, then Guaita. And then even at a stretch, if you really didn't like that, either of them, then I think Jose Sa going forward, a sort of set and forget goalkeeper. But for the extra 0.2 that you would need to spend to get Nick Pope, would do that. My choice.
Yeah, no, makes sense. Definitely. I think realistically, I think you want to aim about the 4.5. I think it's probably there's a few really good options there, and I think 4.5. Even stretching to the 5 million if you really need to does make sense. I think you really want to aim for a keeper that's going to get you, like you say, save points, going to get you bonus points, going to get you clean sheets. That's all that matters. I think goalkeeper is a position I think you don't need to spend too much time on. Just aim for a consistent keeper. You know he's going to play. Hopefully he doesn't get injured, and that's what you really need to do. I think if you're going to go wild card, there is option and scope for you to play about with the budget a little bit. So if you need to drop some cash, you can drop a little bit, but yeah, I would definitely avoid the Leicester double up. It just doesn't make sense. Just don't do it.
Yeah, Guaita's another one that's quite good for saves. He's not picking up as many in the bonus points, but it's a nice tasty run of fixtures there. So yeah, one of those two would be my pick.
Aye, definitely. Okay, so defence. I hear a lot of chat about big at the back being dead as an option, and yeah, I mean I can I don't necessarily agree fully. I mean I do think a lot of people are pushing that way now. They're going back to a 3, and at max, like the 4, but everybody seems to be set on the 3. So you've picked out the 3 players that I would say most people are going to have in that 3, which is James, Cancelo, Trippier. There is obviously an argument for Trent Alexander-Arnold as well, if you're going to believe that Liverpool are turning a corner, which I'm not convinced by, but we'll see what happens. Interestingly, the Arsenal, I take it, it's the fixture turn is the reason why you maybe don't have any of the Arsenal defenders. You're just not not keen on them?
Well, it's the fixtures and the upcoming blank in game week 12 is why I didn't pick any Arsenal defenders on my wild card. I think I started the season with Ramsdale, and I was always quite impressed by Zinchenko before his injury, so I was quite keen to stay in that Arsenal defence. Arsenal, albeit we're looking at Saliba here, who's getting a lot of points because he's been getting goals as well. The clean sheets have only really been coming away from home, so away to Brentford, away to Bournemouth, and away to Crystal Palace. And then they've got these 2 home games coming up against Tottenham and Liverpool. Away to Leeds, if they keep up the trend, they'll keep a clean sheet there and then the blank. So not for me at the moment. I think once we get over this period, maybe even from here, I'd start looking at maybe Saliba or Zinchenko or I don't know, a Tierney or somebody like that, because Arsenal, they are good prices for, the top of the league as well. So they're performing well enough for that price range. But just on the wild card just now, I just think there's better options on that price, because you just don't want to give yourself a headache when you get to 12. You want to be able to just have 3 players over the Arsenal City combo and then just bench them. If you have more than that, you're going to give yourself a headache of who you're going to have less than 10 players or whatever. So nothing against their actual performances or stats. It was just forward thinking a bit is why I haven't picked any in my wildcard or this draft that we've done.
So the other side of that, obviously, James, we both do like, last season performing really well. Slightly worried this season that Chelsea aren't playing as well as they normally could. But do we think that the Potter is going to, carry them forward? They're going to be a bit more solid, I think, defensively. I think a better unit. Hopefully, I'm hoping they'll play slightly better under Potter. But what's your thoughts on Reece James? Do you think, as a Chelsea fan, that he'll step up now and he'll get a good run of fixtures? So what's your thoughts?
I think so. I think there's no reason not to. I mean, he's got the players there. He's got the players that can fit into his kind of system with the wing backs. And I feel like James is worth holding on to, because even when Chelsea don't quite perform and they don't keep a clean sheet like they were last season, he's still popping up with creating chances, so he can still get goals and assists. So for $6 million, I still really like him. I was trying not to have my Chelsea hat on whenever I was doing my wild card. I did think about new manager and stuff, but I just think for how explosive he is, like, Chelsea could draw 2 each and he could score a goal and get an assist or get both of the assists. And although he's prone to a yellow card, he's a bonus point magnet as well. So I think he's been performing well. 3 7-pointers out of the 5 that he's played. Terrible game, obviously, against Leeds that we remember, and then the game of West Ham, he didn't do too good. So I think I wouldn't say he's a must-have, but I just think not owning him, like, it just takes him to have one good week and everyone's jumping on him. And you know what Reece James is like. Whenever he's fit and he's on form, like, you have to have him, because he can go and get these 3 or 4 in a row of these big hauls. So I just think it's safer to own him. The only player I would have instead of him would be Trent, and you're talking about an extra 1.4 million. So you're having to try and save your money elsewhere. So for me, Trent was a no-brainer, but I can understand why people are cautious over him. But I would still pick him. He's a good price that you can move him down to somebody else at some point. So good fixtures. I'm still keen. I think he'll still get a good amount of points over this as long as he stays fit. That's the worry. He always does that.
I do like it. I mean, the problem, obviously, that the managers have gone into from this international break. I mean, international break has not been helpful at all. But the Queen's death before postponing certain games, it's really left everybody with incomplete set of data sets. So you don't really know what Chelsea are going to play like. We haven't seen enough of them. We don't really know how Liverpool are going to, if they've turned the corner, if they need that rest, if they're going to, make a difference. We don't really know how Leeds are playing. We don't know if they're going to carry forward. We don't know what Tottenham are going to be like. They don't. They've shown some really interesting games, and it's frustrating because there's just so many what ifs and changes going on at the minute, and we don't have enough data to really. So we're having to take punts on things that we know that are useful. So players like Reece James, he's capable of getting returns. He's capable of getting a goal. He's capable of getting a clean sheet. So yeah, it's a no-brainer for me. I mean, I think. I haven't decided whether I'm going to wildcard this week in Game Week 9, but if I do, I definitely think James is going to be in there, and I think he will be in ahead of Trent, because Trent's just for me at the minute, it's going to take a bit of time for me to restore my faith in Liverpool. I just can't see they're so god awful at the minute. They just don't seem, and I know they're still getting points and making returns, but A, the fixtures, like you pointed out there, and B, like the form, they are not anywhere near as good as they were last season. I don't know. I think there's a few points being made about the idea that it's they came so close last year on all four fronts that it's maybe taken a little bit out of them, which is completely understandable. I don't think it's this 7-year itch thing that everybody's attributing to Klopp. I just think it's one of those things at the start of the season. I just hope we can turn the corner. I think a good result against Brighton leading into, is it Arsenal? Yeah. Will probably just help them if they can string a couple of decent performances together. And don't get me wrong, it would not surprise me in the slightest if they went out and beat Man City 3-0. Like, it just wouldn't. But this season's been that mental. But yeah, for now, I think I'm going to, agree with you and dampen our wick on the old Liverpool defensive options.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen Trent in a lot of wildcard drafts, and I just don't get it yet. Like, if you're going to spend that money, spend it on James or Cancelo or someone. The Brighton game, that's not going to be easy, albeit they're at home. And then, see if they don't get a good result here, they draw to Brighton or whatever. So much pressure is going into that to play against Arsenal, who are top of the league sort of team. And then they've got City coming to them. That's 3 really tough games. And then amongst these games, they've got Champions League games. 2 games against the mighty Glasgow Rangers, might add. So that's a tough run of fixtures. Rangers will give them that good game at Ibrox alone anyway. So I'm like,
right.
And
then arguably you're going straight into that West Ham game as well. I mean, they've put it as a green there, but West Ham,
it's not
an easy game. Exactly. So yeah, I totally agree. It worries me. I think if I put a wildcard team, I would leave myself enough room to move these players in if I need to, but I definitely wouldn't be including any kind of Liverpool defenders at the minute until they get their act together. So Cancelo, obvious choice. Both of us have him. I think both of us really like him, obviously, and he's just the defender that everybody, if you look at his price point, it's the defender that everybody wants in their team. He's been the best performing defender out with Trent, probably the most consistent as well over the past couple of seasons. So yeah, no brainer, man. You've got to have him in there, and if not, then you at least have one City defender that's going to be playing every weekend there, possibly Diaz. I don't know, but yeah, Cancelo's a no-brainer for me.
I agreed. Yeah, there's nothing much else to say about him. Just even that last game against Wolves, City didn't play that well. Cancelo didn't get an assist, didn't get a goal, but he still got the 3 bonus points. He's just so forward thinking. He's not hitting as many shots, which you would think takes away from the fact that he's not going to maybe get goals or assists. But he was losing bonus points for having shots missed, like shots off target or shots saved. So him actually taking less shots is benefiting him. So if they keep a clean sheet, then he's likely to get the bonus points. So a no-brainer. Just don't overthink it. If you want into that City defence, that would be the best.
You've got to. I mean, budget-wise, it's a bit of a pain. He's so expensive, but he's you've got to have him in there. There's no. I don't think there's a massive debate about that. If you're messing about, you've got to pick. Trippier, big fan. I don't have him on my team. I would like to have him on my team. I think he's proven his value. He's definitely, he's a goal threat from set pieces. Does he take the corners as well? Is that something? I don't know, but he's definitely worth having in the team. Newcastle, we spoke about with Pope, the clean sheet option and stuff like that. They've got plenty of scope for that. So, and they've got good fixtures. So yeah, I can definitely agree with having him in there as well.
Aye, he sells himself. He's done so good already. Even the games that Newcastle don't keep a clean sheet, he's been getting returns. So he's a no-brainer for that price point. Definitely. The only thing that I wasn't too sure about when I was doing my wild card was maybe the defensive double up with Newcastle, and then I got burned on that last week when they conceded to Bournemouth at home. So maybe if you're going Trippier, that might put you off Pope. But I like it. I just like a double up sometimes. It's risky, but when it pays off, I like it. So he's a no-brainer. Got to have him.
Yeah, so I'm going to say this through gritted teeth, but Tyrone Mings. I'm just not a big fan of this Aston Villa team, but yeah, we spoke, the idea is based around their fixtures. That they just have such sweet fixtures coming forward that there's going to be opportunities for them to get clean sheets. Surely you would hope. And as we've seen, as they played against City and stuff like that, they are capable of performance. And you would hope going forward that they would return some points. So
I feel like Mings is almost a bit of an enabler now. Like we can kind of pass by Nico Williams because everyone's got him, and it's obvious why people have got him. Attacking threat, 4 million-ish, excellent. And then alongside him, everyone's either looking at Emerson, who I've got in my team from West Ham, or Nathan Patterson, who's now unfortunately injured. So nobody's really talking about Mings. Like, he's only 0.2 more than Nico Williams, and yeah, just kept a clean sheet there against Southampton. Done really well away to home to City, and then away to Arsenal was pretty close too. So, and with those fixtures, he's another bonus point magnet. Whenever they play well defensively, he's the one that's racking up the points. So I think for only 4.3, that's a really good price point to get into him. And also you can ship him, you can move him on to when Patterson comes back, or if Emerson looks good. Like, I think he's a really good enabler and a big differential as well.
He is capable of scoring goals, as we've seen before. So yeah, definitely, I like it. I mean, I don't know, maybe not for me. I just don't want Aston Villa players, but my bias is against teams. It's probably going to cause me problems, which we're going to talk about when we get to Madison. But yeah, I think certain teams for me just at the minute in terms of form are really freaking me out. So Liverpool, Leicester, Aston Villa, other teams that are giving me the heebie-jeebies a wee bit just in terms of picking players, because you just don't this season, having watched them, they don't pass the eye test, and the players just do not look exciting. But that fixture list cannot be ignored, and I really do think that if any team is going to take a U-turn, turn around that those teams we've just talked about, is going to be Villa. You know, hot off that really good result against City. They're definitely primed to take a wee spot. So yeah, definitely
I think
good choice.
There are other options though. If we're going to just quickly, I'll talk about the enablers, because I think this is, you're talking about big at the back. I think 3 of the big ones, or it's like 2 of the big ones, and a sort of another decently well priced defender in Trippier. A cheap one and another cheap one. Like, if it's not Mings, you've got Mark Guehi from Crystal Palace. It's only 4.3 as well. We've already touched on their defensive possibilities. Fofana, 4.4, Chelsea. We're still not 100% sure if he's going to be in the squad every single week. I think he will be. And then even Tarkowski's a nice price at 4.4. Everton have got a nice run of fixtures and might be turning a wee bit of a corner.
Yeah, definitely.
Kept a clean sheet against West Ham. So there's options there. There's more options now than there was at the start of the season, and that's sort of like just over 4 million brackets. So it doesn't have to be Mings, but I think he'd be one of my picks anyway.
I'm quite intrigued by that. Tyrell Malacia from Man United. Man United are one of those teams that are going to be interested to see what they do going forward as well now. Yeah, I mean, that Man City fixture looms large, but after that, you know, say Newcastle and Tottenham and Chelsea are probably a bad run, so probably game week 14 before you're looking at them anyway. But yeah, interesting, and definitely interesting. So midfield, we go straight in. Martinelli in there for obvious reasons. Absolute form monster. Much to my lament for never picking him, but he is picking up points like nobody's business. You know, even got that goal unfairly chopped off against Man United. Yeah, definitely no brainer. Really like it. I even think I would, you know, chomp down on my own pride and get him in my team now, because it's undeniable now. I can't keep hiding from the idea that it's you know, his form's going to run out, because he's been the most consistent Arsenal midfielder, and Arsenal are definitely the team you want to have players getting into here. Admittedly, we're worried about this blank coming up, but I definitely think Martinelli's a great pick.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to go anywhere from my team. Even during the blank, I'm going to probably just try and bench him, and 2 City players being Haaland and Cancelo. I imagine I'll probably get rid of Foden before then. So it's just the price range. Like, arguably one of the best teams in the league, like you're saying, his form's so good. Like, for that price, no brainer, and that's why he's nearly 50% owned.
Honestly, take it from me as a person who's argued against him since the start of the season. It's a no-brainer. Like, even I've turned my opinion on him. So we're just going to skip over that blue player there, because I want to talk about him at the end. But yeah, we're going to talk about this because me and you, like, we've been talking about this all week. But yeah, Son, interesting choice. I quite like it. As you notice, we've got no Salah. We both definitely agreed that Salah's an interesting pick, but we like Son. You know, that hat trick just shows you that think he's a really good man manager. Putting him on the bench and he comes off and scores a hat trick. He's the kind of player that feeds on that kind of form. I do think he'll kick on. Did he score on an international break? I think somebody said
I
he
scored
did.
2 and 2.
So
one of them was a cracking free kick as well. Like he looks like he's getting that little spark back. So I think he's worth pick. The reason I picked him, like I didn't pick him on my wild card because that was pre-hat trick. But I think if I was doing it now, it's just good to have that placeholder for Salah or maybe De Bruyne or whatever. Like so, whereas we've both got Kane as our third premium or whatever. So I like that having him in there. I would definitely pick him over Salah just now because I just think he's got the form. The fixtures look good as well. Like Spurs always play well against Arsenal. Kane is playing well. He's getting the numbers. He looked good for England against Germany in that second half, Kane. So I think Son's the one to go for and over Salah just now. Salah, you'll slate him as much as me probably.
Okay, let's talk about like minute management and so on. Like I think like obviously he's a worry, but at the same time, like I think that if you like we talked about, even if he comes off the bench, he's capable of scoring a hat trick. So having him in your team should be a worry. Like it's becoming more and more of a squad game these days. Like these players are going to be on the bench sometimes, but they're still more than capable of coming off and grabbing a goal. And Son is one of those players actually that might thrive in that position. Coming off the bench and as he's shown in that hat trick game with the tired legs and stuff like that. So yeah, no brainer for me. The reason I don't want Salah, and I just think consistency wise, like why would you put £13 million in? Like surely, like so even some of the people have been talking about it. Like why not just put that money into Diaz? Diaz arguably he's been getting better points. He's going to score goals. So I just think it's so much money to put in a player whose form is not that great. I know he has been picking up points, but it's just too much money. It's way too much money. And I keep seeing people saying, oh, we need to get him back in. I want him back in. I want him back in for my wild card. And I don't understand it. Liverpool might turn the corner. I might be wrong. This international break might do him the world of good. But I think he plays out way too wide now. He just doesn't seem to be involved as much in the attacking plays. So he's definitely an interesting one for me. And I know a few people disagree with that, but I think we both agree that he's not the player that he's been for previous seasons.
Yeah, I think I was a bit worried about it, not owning him, but now I'm not so much. I feel like that over the next 3 or 4 game weeks, I think Son or Kane or KTB all outscore him. And then once you get to whatever week it is, 12 I think it is whenever their fixtures turn massively. You get these 3 games in a row. So I think over these 3 games, the other premiums outscore him. So that's why I'm not fussed about it at all.
Well, I mean, realistically, what's it going to cost you? 10, 12 points tops. Like it's not the end of the world. And again, you can spend that money better elsewhere. So yeah, not going to talk about it too much longer. Pereira, obvious choice. We both spoke about him. We both like him. Tell me a little bit about Zaha. Why have you chosen? I'm a big fan actually, but I want to hear what your reasoning is as well.
It's form and fixtures. Like you can see already this season, like he scored against Liverpool, Aston Villa and Brentford. Palace seem to be capable of getting a good result against the bigger teams and then sometimes not so much against the not so big teams. But these fixtures, like I think he can even get a goal against Chelsea. Chelsea's defence, as we've kind of touched on, are a bit rocky. We don't know what's going to happen with Potter. So, and Zaha's on penalties. I think he's on corners as well. And they've got these amazing fixtures coming up. So I think he's going to be probably about 30% owned at least by the time we get to game week 10. So I think if you're on wildcard, just get ahead of the curve and just get him in for that price range. His price is going to be rising. So I like him. He's another no-brainer.
Even if I don't play wildcard this weekend, I'm going to get him in. I think he just looks too good. Okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room. Maddison. I know we've covered him quite a bit already, so we don't have to spend too much time on it. But you're a big fan. The fixtures are in their favour. Tell me a little bit about why you're going to continue singing these praises.
Just the same as what I said last week. I just think he's capable of getting the goals. He's the only one capable of getting the goals for Leicester. And even if they do lose 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 goals and get pumped, he can still crop up with a goal or an assist. So he's got 3 goals and 1 assist now across the 7 games. He's playing 90 minutes in every single game, so there's no risk of rotation there. He's fresh as well because he didn't play for England in the international break. So, and then with these fixtures, Forest at home, shaky, Bournemouth away, shaky. and then we'll just see. I'm going to give him 2 or 3 weeks at least, compared to like Bowen in my team, but I just think, and he's still so low owned as well. Like, that's why I'm harping on about captaining him this week, even though it might be a big risk. I just think it's high risk, high reward. And what did I say to you? Like, it was putting the captain armband on him was as sexy as it is terrifying. And I mean that. Like, it is like I would do right, as soon as I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, that's a sexy captain differential. But as soon as it's locked in, I'll not be very happy. I'll be very scared. So.
See, to be honest, what terrifies me is the fact you've talked me around to it, and B, I think he's a better captain pick than Salah. So that says all for me, mate.
That's
so
mad.
yeah, and all the English pundits are going mental. The fact he's not an England team, which also screams interest to me. So yeah, we could talk about him all day, and there's no point, like, because we're going about it, and you'll end up talking me into getting him in the team, and I'll be really annoyed about it. So let's not do that. So up front, some few obvious choices there. Haaland, we don't need to speak about. Captain fantastic. City are a team up until about the blank. You're going to want to have him there. He's going to stay in your team. But yeah, tell me a little bit about Mitrovic and Toney as essential striker picks.
I think Mitrovic don't even need to talk about that much either. Like, he's just got the form. I touched with it with Zaha, like, he can score against the big teams. He's nailed on. He's on penalties. He's going to get you points. Really good price range as well. Toney could have been Isak. Isak's obviously injured now from international duty. I just think Toney, like, he's got the form. He's now got the confidence of getting that call up for England as well. And Brentford's fixtures are okay. We know he's on penalties. He gets the odd assist as well. Like, I don't think there's much to say about him as well. Like, this depends on your budget. Like, I think some people might be spending a bit more money elsewhere, and if you don't have that budget, people are looking at Solanke because of the fixtures. I don't really like it. I think some of the stats men will be telling you that Bournemouth's expected goals are so low. I don't like it. If you're really struggling for money, I would rather go for Brennan Johnson, Forest. I just think he's looked great for Forest and Wales in the international break. So these are, I think, are the 3 obvious ones to go for if you've got that budget. Jesus, I'd stay away from them now just because of, like before you touched on, those fixtures and then the blank coming up. So I think Toney's the man for the third. I think you've got to have Haaland and Mitrovic. If you're not going for maybe somebody like Kane as your third premium, then I think Toney's the standout. Isak, I would have liked because he's injured now. So
I like it. I mean, the strikers are doing quite well this season, which is a big change for last season. Quite a few options. Those 3 are probably, for me, the best. I think if Isak wasn't injured for 3 or 4 weeks after the international, I'd have Isak in there ahead of Toney, but I do like Toney. I think he's a great pick. Jesus, I absolutely love. Like, he's been amazing this season, and I'm really glad he's proved exactly like what we thought he would do. But your point about the fixtures, if you're going to be wildcarding this week, unless you are content to have him sitting on your bench for certain games, it's probably not worth that extra cash. The only one I really want to talk about, so just before we finish, is if you can scroll down that wee striker list for me, keep going down, and see that yellow strip there, the wee old Diogo Costa coming in at Wolves. As a little bit of a differential, I like him. Is he injured? What's he saying?
He's just lack of match fitness. He's not played for a while, so he might be fit now for West Ham. Like, he's had two weeks of training and stuff, so he might come off the bench.
5:45. And then that game against Chelsea, it's just written in the stars,
he's gonna get a goal in that game. I like the idea of him. He could come into our thoughts around here. We just know Wolves don't score many goals, so it's hard to justify him just now. But I'd love to have him.
I like the idea. I think
yellow card
going forward, going forward, I think could be good. Just for those, when the fixtures change and stuff like that. So great. Thanks again for watching, and let us know how you're going with your wild card, what picks you're picking, what you think. Let us know if I'm being an idiot with Madison, or if Danny's been an idiot with Madison, which I don't think most people will agree with Danny rather than arguing. And let us know what you're thinking. Keep following us.
Cool. Thanks again for joining, and keep liking and subscribing. We'll see you next week.